Welcome to the Healing Sexual Trauma Summit. I am Marcy Little, and today we will be talking to, or I will be talking to, and you'll be listening, Leah Carey. Leah, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here, Marcy.
That's great, and we're thrilled to have you. Before I tell you more about the wonderful work that Leah does and who she is, let's just take a moment to settle. Ooh, I know I need it. How about you, Leah?
Absolutely.
Never miss a moment to settle if I can. All right, so go ahead and feel free to close your eyes or just lower your eyelids. Notice where you're sitting. Maybe feeling your feet in contact with the floor if they are, your body in contact with the chair. And then just noticing the breath. Does your breath feel easy? Does it feel tight? Is your breath shallow or deep? And then you can just notice if there's any tension in your shoulders or your jaw. Let go of the tongue in the mouth if you like. Relax the muscles of the face. And feel your feet again. Notice the breath again. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hi.
Hi.
Don't you feel better?
Oh my gosh. I was just, when you said, release your jaw, my jaw has been so tight ever since mask mandates because I'm like so aware of the mask. And so, oh yeah, that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, release the jaw.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just got a pop-up on my screen.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to viewers, if at any point in my discussion here with Leah, you start noticing any tightness coming in again in your jaw or in your belly or your shoulders, or you just feel a little overwhelmed or overstimulated, hit the pause, take a break, take a little walk, drink some water, get back into your body, shake something out, come back when you're ready. Okay, that's my invitation to you. Really take care of yourselves. So Leah, here we go. Leah is a sex and intimacy coach and host of the podcast, Good Girls Talk About Sex, something that you're going to want to check out as soon as this is done. She works with people eager to explore new avenues of their sexuality and fulfill their greatest desires, like identifying and asking for what they really want in bed, diving back into the dating pool after a long time away, having first-time queer experiences, or learning how to communicate about kink. This work was not an obvious life choice for Leah. Growing up with an abusive father, she learned to be a very good girl. I understand that. And I'm sorry to hear it too. She got involved in a series of emotionally abusive relationships, always convinced that she was the problem, not pretty enough, smart enough, or sexually skilled enough. Because she wasn't experiencing pleasure during sex, she believed she was broken. You're not broken, and I know you know that now. At age 42, life threw Leah an opportunity to build a new story. With both parents gone and no siblings, she put aside the family mythology of the good girl and began challenging her old beliefs about worthiness, attractiveness, and desirability. Watching her phenomenal growth, friends started seeking her out to help them do the same, which eventually developed into coaching and podcasting. And you can find Leah online at www.leahcarey.com and her podcast, www.goodgirlstalk.com. Leah, all right. So that tells us a little bit about you. We get a little glimpse into you. Is there anything more you would like for us to know?
I'm particularly interested in learning more about your book because being naked was such a huge part of my journey. Learning how to be naked, literally physically naked, and also emotionally, and all of that. So yeah, I think nudity has been a huge part of my journey as well.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything more about that?
So you sort of mentioned in the intro that I grew up with an abusive father. He was an alcoholic. He's been dead for 20-ish years now. So anything that I say about him is sort of posthumous recognitions. Um, I would say that he had a lot of really narcissistic tendencies that I did not understand until the last few years. Um, and one of the things that he did was belittle me. He would tell me I was fat, I was ugly, no one would ever love me. Um, and I believed him because he's my dad. Of course, I believed him.
Right.
At the same time, he was starting to interact with me as a sexual being, seeing my body develop and telling me, oh, if any boys come, sniffing around, I'm going to break their kneecaps and I'm going to lock you in your room until you're 30. So it was like very confusing. Am I totally undesirable, totally unattractive and disgusting? Or am I so desirable that you have to lock me away and protect me from the world? And so what I did was just
And dangerous.
totally dangerous. Not only dangerous to me, but dangerous to other people who might want to interact with me because he was threatening physical harm to them.
Mhm.
And so what I did was just shut down.
Mhm.
I didn't date, I didn't flirt. I was totally boy crazy, and in later years also girl crazy. But externally, you would never have known that. I was like a piece of ice on the outside. Um, and I was convinced that no one was ever interested in me because when people did show interest in me, I assumed there must be something wrong with them because they can't see how broken and terrible I am. So obviously, I'm going to reject them, which led to a series. I only had a very few, I didn't have sex for the first time until I was 25. That was my first relationship. I had 3 relationships in total up to when I was like 35. Um, and they were miserable, partially because they were, varying degrees of emotionally abusive, but also because I had absolutely no sexual pleasure. And anytime I tried to ask for what I thought maybe I wanted, it was either ignored or it was done for a couple of minutes to just like appease her before we get to do what I really want to do. So I was, sort of the stereotypical woman who stared up at the ceiling fan waiting for it to be over, except when it was painful. And then I would cry. Um, so it really wasn't until my early 40s that I was like, there has got to be something more. I've been hearing and reading my whole life about people having these amazing sexual experiences and orgasms so powerful that it makes them cry in a good way, like all these things. I was like, I need to know. I need to either find out that, yes, I'm broken and I will never be able to experience this, or I'm not broken and I need to learn how to do this. And that was the beginning of my journey.
Wow. Leah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's makes me want to touch my heart when I think of some of that for you and how that was really painful for sure. And then it makes me want to rejoice and throw up my hands.
Yeah.
Right? Which
Yeah.
clearly is where you are right now. So wonderful. And I connect very much with your story and my experience, my sort of the start of my journey towards like, what the heck? What's it all about? Happened when I was 18. And I feel glad that it happened early for me because I had this best friend who was like a dancer. And I write about this in my book. I write about a lot of stuff in my book, which maybe you'll read. I hope you will.
Yes, I will.
And she was like, she would be like, my boyfriend and I did blah, blah, blah in the car. And it was so amazing. And I was just like, really? Really? Cause I'm not really getting it,
Mhm,
but then it was like, I want what she has.
mhm.
And I had no idea how to get it.
Yeah,
And that was the start of the question of, well, how? What is it and how do I get it? And it sounds like you've been doing that and you've come up with some pretty good answers.
I have. I discovered I'm not broken. I am capable of pleasure. I am not awful and disgusting, and people are attracted to me.
Yeah.
And what I can say with absolute certainty is that those things are true for every person who's listening to this. And there are going to be a lot of you who hear that and are like, well, she doesn't know me. She doesn't know my particular bugaboos. She hasn't seen my body. Nobody could be attracted to my body or my. I can tell you with absolute certainty because I have seen it in action. There is somebody who wants to love you in your body, no matter its size or its shape. I can tell you with absolute certainty that you are not broken. You have been probably told that you want things that you don't actually want. And therefore, you're trying to convince yourself to want those things. And if you actually start doing the things that you want, you will discover that there is a world of pleasure for you.
That just gave me chills. It also made me emotional. I have a son who has Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. So he lives in a very different kind of a body.
Mm,
He's in a wheelchair um, and I think has lived his whole life feeling like, or wondering, is there somebody to love me the way
mhm.
that I am in this kind of a body? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
And he's
Yeah.
someone, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I
to,
just actually, as we're recording just last week, I released an episode of the podcast with a woman named Karen who has cerebral palsy.
I saw that.
And I mean, she's not in a relationship right now. And she has all of those questions. And she has also had relationships in the past where it was very clear there were people who wanted to love her in the body that she's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really psyched that we're starting right here and
Yeah.
learning much more about you, and the way that you have shared that with all of us is beautiful and hopeful for folks who need to hear. I'm curious. I mean, I could probably guess, but I'm curious what you would say to why you agreed to be part of this summit on healing sexual trauma.
Because talking about sex is pretty much my favorite thing in the whole world. And I will never turn down an opportunity to talk about it. I mean, it really is as simple as that. I was so repressed for so long. I could not say the word masturbation out loud. And now I'm up here, having conversations with women practically every day of the week where we're talking about masturbation and kink and, all of the things. I want so much for other women to have the transformation that I've been lucky enough to have. And for each one of us, it's going to look totally different. But I, in every cell of my body, I know how painful it is to live in that space of just like, I'm not getting what I want. I don't know if I'm able. I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know if I'm any of the things. And I just really want to be part of this chorus of voices that tells other women, yes, we are okay. It is okay for us to be sexual beings, and you can have what you want.
All right. Well, that's a great reason. Um,
And let me just add an addendum to that.
sure.
You can have what you want no matter what it looks like. And it may look like never having sex again, and that's okay too.
Mm,
This is not about turning everybody into some sort of pinup model. This is about helping people to find exactly what is right for you. And if that's sex once a year, praise be, like, let's do it,
yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because
Yeah.
I've been so profoundly indoctrinated into normal is sex 3 times a week and
Yeah,
in this position, and you're supposed to feel X, Y, and Z, and it's supposed to look like, and all that kind of stuff. So,
exactly.
yeah, so that really doesn't serve people in their individuality and the unique
No.
expression of their own pleasure and what makes them,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if what you enjoy is the touching and you don't enjoy penetration, that's okay too. Like you can have a really active, fulfilling sexual experience without penetration, without orgasm. And if that's all you ever want to experience, you can find people who want to experience that with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
We were going to talk a little bit about how our socialization as little girls puts us in direct opposition to advocating for our own pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as little girls, and I'm going to make some really broad generalizations here, which means not everyone will have experienced this, but many of us experienced um, when we grow up in little girl bodies, we are taught to uh, sit down and be pretty, to smile so that you make other people comfortable, to take care of everybody else first. You're the one who's supposed to clean up the dishes at the end of dinner, to, close your legs and pull down your skirt. We get so many messages in so many ways. Don't argue, don't get upset, just it all in some way boils down to sit down and be pretty, and that is your worth in the world, taking care of other people and appearing a certain way.
Yeah. Like pencil thin.
Exactly. Blonde, big boobs.
Oh, don't put pose.
Yeah. Exactly. There is a very particular model that we say, oh yeah, she is it. And everybody else is sort of varying degrees of not awesome.
Varying degrees of wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And so all of those things push us into this space of it's not okay for me to want what I want. Many of us learn, don't ask for what you want. Many of us learn, I don't want anything. Like there's no point in wanting anything. So why would I even try to figure out what I want?
Leah, I want to add one more part,
Yeah.
what I think is an important piece to this, which is ownership of our bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, in the socialization process, it happens at such a deep and unconscious level and is so many millennia old.
Yeah.
Just even experiencing this is my own body.
That I can do with as I please. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And is mine to get to know.
Mhm.
Really
And
absent.
it's okay for me to get drunk and still not have sex, still
Oh,
not be penetrated. It's okay for me to wear a short skirt and not expectant to be assaulted. Like there are so many ways that we have been taught that our body and our presentation is for the benefit of everyone else in the world except us.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that piece in. Thanks for
You're exactly right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah.
And so like those are the skills we learn as little girl children. And then there's this period of time where we become teenagers, we become young adults, and we go through this sex education process. Those of us who even got any sex education, some people didn't, but those of us who got sex education, it was basically pregnancy prevention and disease prevention. There was no talk of how to experience your body, how to stay present, how to have healthy communication. Basically this is what it comes down to. In sex education, boys get to have night what is it called, wet dreams and ejaculations, and girls get their periods and suffer.
I'm sorry.
I mean, seriously.
But we're so set up. I mean, we're just so set up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the deck is just so stacked against us.
And the just widespread cultural myth that, well, yeah, your first time is going to hurt. And so just like, don't eat, just get through it. Your first time doesn't have to hurt.
Mhm.
And for most of us, it did. And I'm really, really sorry. Um, we're just set up, like you said, and nobody talks to us. And this is true across the gender spectrum. Nobody is talking to us about how to communicate. Nobody is talking to us about how to have a healthy relationship or how to ask to learn what I want and then ask for it. None of that is talked about. So all of those skills are like repressed in us as children and then never opened up for us later, which means that as adult women, we're sort of wandering in a desert of, I'm not getting what I want. And so it's happens so frequently that somebody will say to me, I want my partner to touch me differently. I'm just not satisfied. I want something different. And I say, okay, this is such a great place to start. What is it that you want?
Mhm.
We know what you don't want. What is it that you want? And they look at me with these big, like deer in headlights eyes, and they say, oh, I don't know. I never thought about it.
I don't even know.
I just know that I don't want what I'm getting
Right.
because we haven't been invited to know what we want.
So true. I'm well, and I was sorry to interrupt your flow.
No, please.
And it's just so true. And it's really like men and women and everyone on the gender spectrum, um, we've all been indoctrinated into the same set of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's so limited.
Yes.
um, and what was I going to say about that? Yeah, so as women, it's like I know I experience as somebody who has sexual trauma and has healed that greatly, but occasionally, it still
Yeah.
arises. And it's like, so I have to both figure it out and instruct my partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are times where it's like, I just want you to know. I just want you to help me find out. I just
Yeah.
want, it's a lot
Yeah.
of responsibility sometimes.
It is. And that's what, so my big thing is I want things to be fun because for most of my life, things were like deadly serious and not at all fun. And so I turned pretty much everything into a game. And so this is part of my process too. And let me say, I am 5 years, is it 5 years out from the beginning of my sexual journey? I've made so much progress. I'm in such a different place now, but that doesn't mean that my journey is over.
Right.
I'm still learning. I'm still healing. I'm still growing.
And then our
So,
body changes. So we're,
oh, right. I'm
we're
going through
always,
perimenopause.
yeah, exactly. We're always changing with it. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I developed these games in order to help myself learn and in order to help myself learn how to know what I want and to talk to a partner about it. So I do things like one time I was fooling around with this guy and I said, I want to try something new. And he's, what? And he was really game for anything. It was great. I was like, I want us to be like scientists. I want us to be sexual scientists. We're like, make a hypothesis about something that might feel good. And then we try it out. And then we find out if it was or not. And then we change our hypothesis so that neither of us is going into it thinking, oh, I have to touch her in exactly this way in order to produce this feeling. And if she doesn't, then I'm a bad lover. And I'm on the other side thinking, oh, I want him to touch me exactly this way. And if he doesn't, then he doesn't care about me. And this was just us going into an exploration together
Right.
and learning together. And then when he hit a spot that I was like, oh, that's really good, then I was like, we came to a positive conclusion, give him tons of positive feedback so that he remembers it,
Yeah.
ask for it again later. Like this becomes a sort of growing process between the two of us. All that stuff is on my website. It's called The Sexual Scientist.
I love that, Leah. I love that
Yeah.
so much. I could feel inside as you spoke of it that way, how it shifts something immediately. It takes
Yeah,
pressure off.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like when we have been put in opposition, when we have learned skills that are in direct opposition to asking for what we want, the next step of healing is not going directly to, well, here's what I want. And I'm going to proclaim this very confidently, because your brain and your body are not caught up to you there yet. All of your neural pathways are still hooked up to, I don't know what I want. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm damaged goods, all of that stuff. So I think it's really important to have some intermediate steps where you build skills, where you take slightly different steps. And this is one of those, like turning it into a game and not expecting yourself to know, but giving yourself the space to play and experience and explore.
Uh-huh. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. That's
Yeah.
really inspiring. I feel very inspired by that. So that sort of naturally segues us into what we're going to talk about next, which is learning how to communicate with current or future partners about sex.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, another sort of cultural mythology is if they really love me, then they'll know how to touch me or what I want without me having to tell them. And if I'm not getting what I want, then either there are two options: either I'm broken, the problem is me, or they don't love me. That is so backwards. None of that is true. I think about it like going into a restaurant. The waiter hands you a menu, and you look at the menu, you look at all of the options, and you choose what you want. And you tell the waiter, and you're very specific. I want my steak cooked medium rare with sour cream on top. I want my baked potato with chives, but no sour cream. I want my, gin and tonic, whatever it is. You give them super specific instructions. You do not walk into a restaurant, receive the menu, and sort of like glance at one of the things on it and then glance up at the waiter and like not say anything. He's supposed to know what you want based on you glancing at the menu and then glancing. We don't do that. And yet that's what we do with our partners. We expect them to understand based on some little glances and, a couple little touches.
Uh-huh.
What turns us on? What gets us excited? What gets us juiced up? What makes me want to go further? How I want to be touched at the beginning to get me warmed up versus how I want to be touched once I'm warmed up, because those things might be very different. All of that stuff is what we need to communicate with our partners. And so the first piece of this is recognizing that communication needs to happen. And there's nothing wrong with your relationship if your partner doesn't know without you telling them.
So as I listen to you, I'm just going into my own experience a little,
Yeah.
see how it fits, and noticing, for example, how hard it can be to even admit to myself that
Yeah.
something is happening that I'm liking much
Mm,
less
yes.
than letting my partner know.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it comes back in a way to those neural pathways you're talking about, or just like all the stuff that's sort of loaded onto that. And when you have sexual trauma, then there's a whole other layer of what's loaded onto that. So
Yeah.
I was like, wow, well, I can't start communicating that if I can't start communicating that.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
you know?
So that reminds me of an experience I had early in my journey. I took a bunch of classes. I was very fortunate to land in a community that did a lot of like really open sexual education around all these topics. And I was in this class where we were learning literally the conversation to have with a partner before having sex. And one of the topics is, what are your turn-ons? And we broke up into small groups. So I was with, a small group of 4 people, and there was a leader for the small group, and he said, okay, let's go around and everybody share your turn-ons. I happened to be the only woman in the group, just by happenstance. And so I'm listening to all these 3 other men share their turn-ons, and it gets to me, and I literally burst out sobbing.
Mm.
The idea of saying, I get turned on, and these are the things that do it for me, felt so dangerous.
Mhm.
It felt like I was opening myself up to be attacked, to be belittled, to be told I wasn't worthy. It felt like maybe I would be struck by lightning. Like, it literally felt physically dangerous to say those words out loud. So the first steps in this are to be really gentle with yourself and recognize that this is not a, oh, I'm going to do this thing and then it's suddenly going to be okay. This is a process. I need to really spend some time getting okay with the idea that I am a sexual person. I need to spend some time, like, really feeling out what it is that turns me on. And, a lot of people have questions about that process. So things I recommend are um, reading erotica to see what turns you on, paying attention when you watch TV or movies. What are the things you see that are turning you on? And it may not be the specific activities. It may be, maybe it's that guy is wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. Like, that might be the turn on. It's not actually him or the way he's kissing, like, really pay attention to what the turn ons are for you that you already know. What are the things you dream about? If you have sexy dreams, what are those activities that you dream about? And then, if you want to start talking about those things with a partner, whether it's a current or potential partner, um, maybe if you found a piece of erotica, you don't actually say it out loud to your partner. You just, like, print it out and highlight the appropriate sections and, like, slide it over and, like, read this when I'm not in the room, like, do what you need to keep yourself safe. Um, I just learned about this company called Dipsy. Are you familiar with them?
Uh,
Oh my God. Okay. I'm totally in love. It's DIP, P as in Paul, SEA, Dipsy. It's an app, and they have these incredible erotic audios where you, like, hear, it's basically radio plays, but they're all about sex. And they're so hot. And there are queer ones, and there are sort of more kinky ones, and there are totally vanilla ones, and, like, whatever you're into, you can probably find something. So, like, utilizing resources like that to really begin to learn for yourself,
mhm.
because again, this is not about performing for your partner.
Yeah.
This is not, when your partner says, what do you want me to do to you? So often we feel like we have to come up with an answer like that, of the thing they can do right now to us in the next minute and a half before they start doing whatever they want to us again.
Mhm.
That's performing for your partner.
Mhm.
This is about really looking inside yourself and saying, what is it that I truly desire? What is it that really gets my juices flowing? And then how do I sort of incorporate that into my life?
Yeah, it can take a while, I'm guessing.
You know, it can, or it can, for me, and I don't want to set up any expectations for anybody, because again, every person's journey is different. But
Mhm.
I had to knock down the first few blocks. I needed to get through that understanding that I wasn't broken, and that there were going to be people who are attracted to me. And then go through that experience of crying when I was asked what my turn-ons were. Once those blocks fell, things fell into place for me very, very quickly. again, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I'm not at the end point of this, but in terms of learning how to talk about it and learning what my turn-ons were and exploring and all of that stuff fell into place very quickly for me. For other people, it might take a long time, both for those early blocks to fall and for the exploration. Every one of us is an individual person who's going to have our own timeline, and every timeline is okay, just as much as every desire is okay.
Yeah, and we're also with a person who's not us. And they have their own
Yes.
whatevers
Hmm.
also present in them, in their bodies and their minds and their histories and their
Yeah.
that kind of thing too.
Yeah. And so one of the things I work on with clients is how can we help you to talk about, like, okay, great, you've discovered what you want. Now, how do we help you communicate it to your partner in a way that your partner can hear it?
Yeah.
It's not enough to be like, oh, I know what I want, and blah, here it is. Because if your partner can't receive it, then that's incomplete communication.
Mhm.
We need to, and this is not about being manipulative, it's not about not being authentic, but this is about figuring out sort of where are your partner's soft spots. Like if I step on this trigger, it's going to go badly. So I am going to sort of figure out how to talk about it that doesn't step on that trigger. And I also know that this is something that really turns my partner on. So maybe if I can figure out how to shape it, in that direction, then maybe there'll be a positive outcome, like really taking into account the fact that there are two of you in this communication, and both of your needs need to be taken into account in order to get really good, clear communication.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
good. Um, so you work with people, and part of the communication is helping them to create relationship agreements.
Yes. I love this part.
Oh.
I do, because again, like societal conditioning, we have been brought up to believe, and it's a couple of these factors are starting to change just a tiny bit now, but the basic assumption is still you're going to have a relationship that is one man and one woman. You're going to be married. Once you're married, you're probably going to get a house together. You're maybe going to have a kid together. There's actually a term called the relationship escalator, where there are very specified steps. And if you're in a relationship for 12 years but you don't get married, people start asking you what's wrong. Like why aren't you married? Or if you're together for a long time but you don't move in together, people are like, what's wrong? Why don't you want to live together? So there's a book called The Relationship Escalator. I'm blanking out on the name of the author, but if this is a topic that's of interest to people, I recommend that book. um, you are able to step off the relationship escalator and do things however you want to do them. You can have a relationship that is not monogamous if you want. You can have a relationship that involves more than two people if you want. You can have a relationship that involves kink if you want. You can have anything you want, literally anything you want. You do not have to live together. You don't even have to see each other more than twice a year if that's what you want, like what is going to work for you, and then finding somebody who is going to have compatible desires. And I actually, people think, oh, the more specific I am about these desires, the harder it's going to be to find someone. I actually think it ends up being easier because you know exactly who you're looking for. And I'm not talking about like he has to have red hair and he has to be 6 feet tall. I'm talking about I want to be with somebody who wants to spend 3 nights a week together, but then I have my space the rest of the time.
Mhm.
That's a very specific thing that you can filter on, that is going to bring people of a certain disposition to you, that is likely to be more compatible with you, rather than bringing in everybody and their brother and then being like, oh, but they want something that I don't really want, and that's going to create a lot of tension between us.
Sort
So
of like a filtering app, like a dating app and the filters.
yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is get really clear for yourself
Mhm.
so that you're drawn, I mean, I'm putting words in now, so that you're
Yeah,
drawing towards yourself, perhaps somebody who, or somebody's who are aligned with what you're really wanting or needing.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, so when we talk about a relationship agreements, what that means is actually sitting down with your partner and talking about how do we want our relationship to look, forgetting about the outside world. How do we want our relationship to look? So for example, with my partner, I can tell you some of our relationship agreements. One of them is that we are monogamish, which means that we are primarily monogamous. We are in a stable, committed, one-to-one relationship. We live together. He is my primary, dinner partner. We go to sleep in the same bed together every night. We both have some adventurousness in us, though, and don't want that to be lost in the context of a monogamous relationship. So we are open to the possibility of engaging sexually with people outside of our relationship. But here's the thing, this is like the getting into the nitty-gritty of the relationship agreement. It's not just, oh, we're going to open our relationship and, we're each going to go out and date other people. We know, each of us knows that our brains are capable of making up a lot of stories. And so if you're going out and dating somebody else, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, that's not going to work for me. Um, and if you are experimenting sexually with somebody else and I'm not in the room to see what's happening, I'm going to start thinking, oh, they're prettier than me. They're, more sexually exciting than I am, whatever. And we both have that in common. Both of us are storytellers. We make stuff up. So our agreement is that if we want to have an experience, it has to be something that we are both completely enthusiastic about. It is a hell yes for both of us. We have to go together and we have to be in the same room. So if that means that we go to a party and, we find a third person and they join us as a couple, awesome. If that means that we go to a party and we each find somebody who are like, oh, they're cute, we can engage with that other people as long as both people, as long as both of us are okay with it. We can engage with those people, but we have to stay in the same room. We have to stay in eyesight so that I'm not thinking, oh, I wonder what's going on over there. Or maybe I find somebody who I'm interested in and he sits and watches. Like there are lots of permutations of that. And I know that I'm talking about something that's probably a little bit more extreme than than the sort of average relationship, but I think it's a good example to talk about, like, how granular do you need to get in order for both people to feel safe. um for if you're moving in with somebody, do you need to have a second bedroom so that the two of you can spend some time apart without having to get in an argument in order for one of you to be like, I'm going to go sleep on the couch in order to get some separate space, like just having that space set up and being like, I need space tonight without creating a crisis. Um, how often you're going to have sex, if that's really important, if let's say you're a person who's like, I I want to have sex, but like it's overwhelming to me. It maybe causes some disturbing stuff for me. I only want to do that once a month. Have that conversation with your partner and and find a way for that to be a win-win for both of you.
I'm even imagining, Leah, once again.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yes, I'm putting myself into your sort of relationship agreement scenario in a micro level, at a
Mhm.
micro level. Like here we are, and we both have the desire to get close physically. and intimate in the intimate space of our bodies. And I'm, for example, if I'm somebody who has a history of sexual trauma, I may need certain agreements
Yes,
before I can feel safe to take a step ahead.
absolutely.
And of course, those are going to change,
Hmm.
right? And those may change from a moment to moment basis even. And they may change from 1 week to another. It makes me wonder if, I don't know, I'm starting to spiral into wait a second. Because there may be certain things that are steady that don't really change. You know, I need to know that if something is happening, for example, that I'm not comfortable with, I can say, stop, and you're going to stop.
Yeah.
Something that simple.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. So that is a really important, I mean, first of all, that should just be a baseline assumption, but unfortunately in our culture, it's not.
Right.
So yes, that is really important to have that agreement between the two of you. Again, in my relationship, one of the agreements that we have is that I will not engage with him on any sexual level if he's had anything to drink or any mind altering substances. That is an absolute no-go for me. We also have an agreement that I don't want ejaculate in my mouth or sort of really on me. And so, you know, our agreement for that is that anytime he's going to ejaculate, he wears a condom. And thankfully, he's totally fine with that. Um, there are other things, like those are absolute baseline, absolute no-goes for me. There are other things that change,
That are
you
negotiable.
know? Yeah. So maybe it's that I'm trying to think of something specific. Um, maybe it's that sometimes I really, well, here's a good one. My breasts don't tend to have a lot of sensation. For a long time, I thought that was a sign that I was broken. Turns out it's just a purely physical thing. Some women have lots of breast sensation and some women don't. Um, So a lot of the time, I'm eh, sure, you can touch my breasts if you want, but it's going to be for you. It's not going to be for me. But one of the things, like a sort of agreement kind of thing, could be it is my responsibility to tell you if I'm in a space where I feel like today my breasts are turned on.
Yeah.
You don't have to put everything in, make everything completely codified and like, this is how it is. Your agreement could be before we have sex, we're going to talk about whether we're going to do X today or not. That is the agreement. We're going to have a conversation before this activity happens to see if we're both on board.
Yeah. Just coming back to the last example that I sort of brought up of the consensus, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Consensus happens from moment to moment.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that comes up as an example for me is because it's like you said, it's not always a given, and it's particularly hard and not necessarily a given for somebody whose body boundary has been violated.
Yeah.
Particularly not necessarily a given. So I don't know. That's
Yeah. Uh, So I have two things coming up in my brain. Let's see if I can remember them both.
okay.
One is that, oh shoot.
It happens to
I've
me
now,
all the
oh
time.
my God.
All the time.
Um, okay, hold on. I'm gonna
Oh,
get back there. Um, one of them was specifically about those of us who've experienced boundary busting.
mhm.
Um, I
About body
apologize.
boundary violations.
They're gone.
Okay. That's okay. It
Oh, no. Okay. The one about boundary violations. This is a little bit off the topic, but I think it's super important for people to hear, which is that if you are somebody who has experienced boundary violations and you now have fantasies about putting yourself in those positions where boundaries are violated, we call them ravishment fantasies. You are totally normal. You not only are you normal, it's so common.
Mhm.
There are a lot of reasons for it.
Read
Eh,
about this in my book.
Okay, great. Good. I'm so glad. This is
Yeah.
because people get so scared
Mhm.
that this means that there is literally something scary wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. It is your brain's way, or one of the many reasons that it might happen is that it's your brain's way of sort of taking back and finding a way to have a situation where you can call halt, where you can use your safe word and the other person stops. And so you get to reclaim that experience in a new way.
That's so interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I think that's so important for people to hear.
Mhm.
And whatever the second thing was, I have no idea.
Yeah, so just going on with that. So like, even though you're caught up perhaps in a fantasy that feels erotic to you, that is repeating, you call it ravishment, a ravishment fantasy,
Mhm.
but that it might have some of those taboo or naughty aspects or whatever, because you're the one who's having it, you can stop it at any point.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what the
And
difference is.
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And if you choose to play that out, so if it goes from fantasy to real world, and we might call this a consensual non-consent experience,
Uh-huh.
that is also that for some people, and I'm not saying like run out and do this right now, but for some people that can be incredibly healing,
Wow.
because once again, they're taking ownership. They're saying, this is how I want it to play out. And if I use my safe word, you will stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Leah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you one final question
Yeah.
before we talk about your gift and something that people can purchase from you.
Yeah.
And before I ask it, I just want to say already what an incredible pleasure it's been to spend this time with you. And I feel very inspired. And I love the freedom that I feel in you as you talk about sex,
Hmm.
your favorite topic. The freedom, yeah. And it's really refreshing, and it just is so obvious how far along on your journey you are because of that to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my last question then is, what wisdom do you feel is vitally important for us all to take away from today's shared time?
Hmm. Um, there are people who want to love you exactly how you are today.
Mm.
There are people who want to love you in the body you live in today. There are people who want to love you in the mental and emotional space that you live in today. You are lovable exactly how you are. And, I was talking earlier about sort of intermediate steps. Any of us who have been in any sort of trauma know that if you say, I'm ugly and nobody will ever love me, and the other person responds, how can you say that? You're gorgeous. You're amazing. It doesn't land. Like there's nothing about that because you can't hear it. You can't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. You are not in a space yet where you can hear it. So here's what I want to like, here's a little exercise. What I want you, I'm going to say something in a minute, and I want you to hear it in the space of, I may not believe this yet, but I believe that Leah believes it to be true. I can tell you from my heart, you are lovable. You are not broken. You are worthy of having the sex and the relationship and the pleasure that you desire. And it's okay if you don't believe that yet, but I believe it with all of my heart.
Powerful. It's really powerful. Makes me teary.
Cool.
Yeah, it goes right into the heart space, I'll tell you.
Mm,
So Leah, that's beautiful. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Tell us about your gift and your purchase item.
Sure. So, Something that can be really helpful if you're exploring what you might want to do with a current or future partner is a yes, no, maybe list. This is something that was created by the kink community, because in kink, you have to have extremely granular conversations about what you want and what your boundaries are and all of that. But as I was looking at these lists, I realized that I didn't see a list that helped people who were really at the very beginning of their journey of figuring out, like, what is it that I'm interested in? And even if I know, how do I communicate it? So you can download my yes, no, I call it my yes, no, maybe list for beginners. And it takes you through lots of different aspects of sexuality, from things like PDA. Are you comfortable holding hands in public? Cuddling. Do you enjoy cuddling or not? And if so, how much? Um, and then we get into sexual stuff. Do you enjoy, which positions do you enjoy? Do you like toys? If so, which ones? There's a little bit of sort of like intro kink. Like, do you like being spanked? Do you like being restrained, blindfolds, that kind of stuff? If you want to go into heavier kink, you can get one of the kink specific lists, and there are a lot of them on the internet. Um, what do you need after sex? Do you want to be held? Do you want to get a sandwich? Do you want to go to sleep? All of those are really valid. The issue is that we're not communicating them to each other.
Mhm.
So you download the list, you and your partner each take a copy and you fill it out separately. You're not in each other's presence, so that you tell the complete truth. And then you come back to each other and you share your lists. And what I highly recommend is that you focus on the places where your yeses match. And there's more about this in the instructions, but look for the places where the two of you are like, yes, we both want to try this.
That's
And
the
you may
Helen
find
tone.
you may find that there are more things on there that you've never talked about before, but that you both want to try than you ever expected.
Love that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so there's something that you're making available. And by the way, everybody
Yes.
listening, as you probably know by now, the gifts and the purchase links are right here on this page that you're watching the video on, right below the bio information and all that. So go ahead. So what can our viewers buy from you?
Yes. So our conversation today may have brought up some questions for you about sex, about your experience of sex, what you want, how to ask for it. Now, I'm a coach, so you're welcome to come do a full coaching experience with me. But if you have a question that you're like, I just really want this one question, I'm offering an ask me anything. So we'll do a 15-minute conversation. I promise you we can get a lot done in 15 minutes. So 15 minutes for $15. And like you said, the link is below. It's leahcarey.com/ask me anything.
And that is a gift, and you should totally take advantage of it. I may be calling you up, Leah.
Perfect. And also, the other free thing that I put out into the world is the podcast. So Good Girls Talk About Sex, where I interview women about their sex lives. It is not experts talking to you about sex and how to have a better sex life. This is women talking about their actual lived experiences. And most of them appear anonymously so that they can get really real.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love this work that you're doing in the world, Leah.
Thank you.
And it's such an honor to hear about it. And who knew? And here it is. Here's Leah.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So great. Leah Carey.
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.